Why would you take all this time to paint it and then make it look like crap? Welcome to another episode of 6% Recycled. I'm going to show you how I did these custom stripes in this valley in the body of the car. Stick around. So I'm thinking about doing a thing on the car. Adding a little color, most inconspicuous space, I can do a racing stripe. Well, I went ahead and sanded this area out, this little ring that I made. I'm going to go ahead and paint it's going to be blue, white, and red, which is more the AMC racing colors rather than red, white, and blue. I'll give the car some style without me having to do any kind of really crazy full color change, because I don't have the money or the time or the want to, actually. But I think it's going to be pretty cool when it's all said and done. Definitely be different. I haven't seen this specific style on anything. The body lines of this car really do lead itself to something like this. Other than at the back, I've really got to figure out what I'm doing back here. Now this general area, I'm not sure how to end it. I think I'm just going to swoop down to meet this body line and swoop up here. But I'm just not 100% sure. Thankfully, with it being back here, if I don't like it, I can extend it more, but I'd prefer to end it here unless I do something crazy back here. But I need somebody's help, like a pinstriper or something, and I don't have access to a pinstriper at the moment. Well, I've got everything masked up. I'm going to have to do special attention to the front on the passenger side because it's junk, and I'll show that to you. And I'm just going to tape everything off. Now that everything's taped off, I'm going to mask it and get to priming. This should be fun with a capital F. Yeah. I've never been very good at throwing out these big sheets of plastic with tarp off stuff. It's just something I'm just not good at. I'm not very good at this. Goal is to cover the entire car with plastic so I don't have any overspray. I have to spend a lot of time taking off. Putting this first line of masking tape beside the fine line tape gives me a nice place to go ahead and tie the plastic sheeting down. Might not actually have enough plastic. See how this goes. This section of the driver's front fender has a large area with missing Bondo from an old repair, I believe from the 80s. I want to blend the new stuff and the stripes in to make it look as good as possible and to match. So I special taped it up. We'll see how it comes out in the end. After one extra trip to Meyer, everything's finally tarped off. Let's get to priming and painting because it's cold and craptacular. Well, the primer's dry. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the first color tonight, which is blue. And it'll go white and red. It will match the most iconic AMC racing car, which is Javelin from the Trans Am series. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. What the hell? What in the... It's not supposed to look good. It's actually supposed to look weathered, which I'll have to do afterwards as well, but there's some weird goo in the paint. It's a new one. Give the first coat 10 minutes, and apply another coat, and then be done for the night. Ooh, spooky. I let the blue dry overnight, so it's time to pull it apart and start the white. I don't want to tear the original layer. Just want to expose this second layer that's tearing the first. Don't tear the plastic, which you just tore the plastic. Okay. Good times. Well, that's fixable. The blue ended up looking pretty dang good, thankfully. I'm going to back tape in the blue and cover the blue up. Then I'll take the black masking and push that back on the door. So first door, the driver's door, front door is going to be white. Back one will be red, and then onto the fender and rear will also be red. Well, it's been about 6 hours, and the paint is as dry as it's going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the tape and throw the covering over there and paint the red. Hopefully I don't tear a bunch of holes in this like I did the last time. We will see. Yeah, well, not too many. Don't peel, just the tape peel, not the everything else peel, please. Yeah, peeled it a little bit. Well, the only good thing is that I'm going to have to de-stress this to some extent to make it look like the paint that's on the body. So a little bit of peeling here and there is expected. I just want to be able to, you know, choose where it is, not just randomly have it yank stuff off. Here we go. Time for red paint. All the paints had at least a day to dry, so it's time to start peeling all the masking off and exposing what it looks like. Then I have to age the paint so that it matches the patina that the car already has. I think it'll come out pretty good. I've not done anything to this scope before, but it'll be fun. It'll be a learning experience, so let's get to it. Well, hopefully peeling this tape off doesn't peel in much of the paint, or any of the paint, hopefully. It's like Christmas. Just keep tearing. Simply going to try to go ahead and just pull the top layer off, leave the bottom layer on, blow all the excess junk off, and then nicely strip the remaining tape. If you have a method you use or a preferred system of doing this, let me know, because I've never tried anything to this scale before. And I don't think I did a bad job, but we'll see how it comes out. Definitely a bit flaky. Definitely a bit flaky. These floor mats helped out quite a bit because I didn't have any other way to easily hold the masking down. Take them off. Taking them off would be helpful. Oh, so flaky. Like a biscuit. Yeah, this is the fun part. Definitely the fun part. Yeah. I'm having a good time. This is gonna be fun. Oh, the first 400 layers of plastic are now off the car. I can't actually get out of here now because I just threw that where I needed to walk, but it's a good idea. Start peeling this off and hopefully I have nice clean lines. We will find out shortly. Well, here goes nothing. Hopefully I didn't get a lot of paint bleed under the fine line tape, but well, so far so good. Don't know if I'm just gonna peel everything off, I guess. Wasn't sure how I was gonna do this, but I guess I'm peeling everything off. I guess I'm peeling everything off. Hey, look, I'm Spider-Man. Yeah, so far, I like it, I like it, I like it. Yeah, there's a severe possibility this is going to look really, really stupid, too. So, there's always that. A little bit of paint bleed here, which, it's on the chrome, I can easily take care of that. Something mildly therapeutic about pulling tape off. Unwrapping a present. And even though I know what's theoretically in this present, you still don't know. There's still room for surprises. I hooked a bag. Hey, look, I went fishing. And wait for it, wait for it. Ah, that's mildly satisfying. Oh, that took some paint with it. Nope, it left some glue with it. All right, well, glue's easier to take off than fixing paint. Although I'm not trying to fix the paint on this anyway, it's supposed to look weathered. I left this area up in the front where there's, no paint, Bondo, and it's just poorly grafted sheet metal alone. Wanted it to look weathered, like I've probably said 4 times now. We'll see how it looks. Hopefully it looks kind of cool. Now, some of this paint still smells somewhat fresh, so I might not age this tonight. I might let it dry overnight in the warmth of the garage. And nicks and scratches on the paint aren't going to make any difference because, it's meant to look weathered. Can't scratch rust. The idea was to pretend like this paint was part of the bodywork before. This giant chunk just went and flew off the car. And with some gentle sanding and some, distressing, it should look pretty close. That's step one done. I'm going to go ahead and take all the trash out, blow off the car, and evaluate where I think I can start massaging the paint. I might have, like I said, I might have to let it wait though, because it is still a little fresh smelling in certain areas. Got the area blocked off. I'm going to try to gently remove the paint on the chrome with the Scotch-Brite because it didn't want to just simply come off. This might not work either. I'd have to go chemical stripping, but I hope not. You almost can't even see it. So I started the aging work on the back, on the red section where I knew there was going to be some chunks and it'd be easier to kind of see what that would look like and it wouldn't be super visible. And I've got to do a lot more to it, but I think it'll look pretty good. So I'm going to start at least breaking the edge here and smoothing it out. So I'm going to tape off the green paint so I can use a little bitty piece of Scotch-Brite and just feather that edge in. So I'm just going to gently scrub the area. Try to break that line over. It's probably a little too harsh, but I have to blend it anyway. Try to pick a cleaner piece and just gently run it through the center, but I'm going to do that once I get the edges where I want them. I want to be careful up here, but I definitely think this is going to be where the most wear would show. I'm going to have to break it along this edge more, because on the other car that I have, my 63, it has a line similar to this, and this is where the heaviest wear is this break edge. I'll also do a little more here, but I'm going to blend out the middle a little bit, and then pull the tape and we'll see what's left underneath. There's also small areas like this where the paint was blown through down to the primer. So I'm going to pick the top coats off, and then I'll come back, and as I smooth it with the sanding, it should blend that out and actually make it look like it was supposed to be there, in theory. Just modify the surface that was already blemished, and not add to it, let the further sanding kind of get at it, make it more consistent. So it's going to look like a chip, which is kind of the whole point. Heaviest gouging and chipping is right in this area, so I'm going to do what I can to kind of smooth some of this out and age it, as they say. Just try to be gentle, because you don't want to do more damage than there already is. Take what I'm doing with a grain of salt and see how it looks when I'm done. Unless you're really bad, you can't really screw this up, because you're trying to screw it up in the first place. I'm going to put a little spray weight on the Scotch-Brite to try to give it a little bit of lubrication so it's not quite so dry, so hopefully it brings less of the color out. Do a little spot and see how it looks. Actually, that might work out pretty well. Some of these spots I'm going to have to hit a little bit deeper just to blend that out a little better. See how that looks. No, it just looks like I'm scratching it to be more consistent. Try a little bit different approach. Let the whole area down, and got a little too much of the color off in the other areas. Hopefully this will help. Remove the paint. I also don't want to make this more dull than the rest of the car is. Give the whole thing a minute to dry and see how it looks. Now let's pull the tape and see how everything looks. Got this bottom edge nice. It's harder to get this upper edge because I don't want to damage the existing paint. I just want to knock this hard line down as best I can. That's much better. I'm just going to have to play with it and fine-tune the process here. I think blue came out pretty good. It's a little duller than I'd like, but I think some of that'll age in with the paint. I might be able to polish it up a little bit. I'm not super good at polishing paint in general, but I'd give it a shot. I don't have any product to do that with, so I'm gonna go ahead and start tackling the white, and then I'll finish the driver's side. I'm gonna show you the passenger side, at least where the fender is in the front, where all that junk and the rust meets. I kind of really need to blend that as best I can, so I need to do all this before I attack that side, because I want that to at least look like it was up there. Are you watching me? Am I watching you? Use a couple different grits of sandpaper, and I actually start off with 600 and 2000 as a finisher, so it'll hopefully blend any scratches out. This should make it look pretty cool, pretty uniform. That's the goal. Just wiping it off every so often to see where I'm at. Biggest thing is I want to try to bleed the edges together, so it's harder to tell if this was painted after the car by probably 30 years. Try to get a little bit of that embedded paint out of the paper. Try to thin it out where you assume you're going to touch it the most. Should be kind of here if you close the door. I have to keep changing the paper with the 600. It definitely does not last as long. I do have blocks and the proper equipment to kind of blend this, but with this big cavity space, I'm just going to wing it with the fingers. It's a little harder with the white because it's just going to look dirty rather than aged. It's too dry. The blue came out really nice. This white is not going to be as forgiving, I don't think. I need it to look right, or I guess wrong. Technically this is wrong. Why would you take all this time to paint it and then make it look like crap? I'm going to pull the tape and then hit the edges again. This tape is great. It really sticks well, doesn't peel the paint off. When you get it wet, it leaves a lot of tape behind, which is fun to clean up. Thankfully it comes off pretty easy, but it's still kind of a pain in the butt. It's one more thing to have to do. That sounds like you're farting. Hopefully the final cut here so that it's just consistent. Well, as consistent as I can make it anyway. Nice thing is it's a weathering effect, so the more weather it sees, the more natural it's going to look. Hopefully that's the last pass on this section on the driver's door. I'm going to go to the back door and the fender section and see how that goes with the wet sanding. I like it so far. I already did the passenger side rear red section, and the red comes off very quickly. So it's actually pretty easy to age this. Pretty easy to go way too far, way quick. There's a lot of chipped up paint right in this section, so I'm gonna put a little more effort into thinning out the paint right there. Go ahead and peel the tape off and try to blend this upper edge in. Yeah. I'm also gonna do things like this door edge. You're not likely gonna rub the paint off here. You'll end up rubbing off in here because that's where you're more likely to have a coat or clothing hit and pull it in as you're going. You're not likely to hit this edge. Same thing for the rear door section. Let's see what we can do with the blue. And this blue does not like being sanded, unfortunately. Fortunately, my towel's pretty wet, so it's gonna look wet. Nothing like watering down the rust here. Well, here's the finished product. Go ahead and give you a nice little tour around the car, and then we'll come back and end the video. It was a lot of effort, but I like the way it came out. It's going to constantly evolve. I definitely hit some spots that were much heavier duty, kind of degrading of the paint. Like I said, you can always repaint it worst case, but I think it blends in nice, and as it ages, it's going to keep looking better. This is actually 2 months after I painted it. It's already been to Autoram and everything else, and nobody even really noticed the stripe, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. Like I said earlier in the video, I tried to pay special attention to areas where you know you're going to put your hand on to close the door. Tried to send the paint out there. When you're sitting in the car with the window open, you naturally close the door. Your hand's going to be right where I send the paint out. So just try to make it look as natural as humanly possible. Like I mentioned before, it's very hard to screw this up because you're trying to make it look weathered. So just take your time, and remember, you can always put paint back on. I have about 90 bucks in supplies, and includes fine line tape. Is about $6 a package. It's definitely worth your trouble. Fine line tape will make your life easy. You can go around complex shapes. It also sticks better, and the paint doesn't tend to blend underneath it. I went through 2 full rolls of the nice blue painter's tape. They're not cheap, but they're worth it. 3 sheets of the 9x12 drop cloths. I just get the regular junk ones. It doesn't really matter, just as long as the paint doesn't go through it. I largely use Upal paint. I've found that for a good price, and I like the coverage. And it was basically a can of each, and I still have quite a bit left other than for the primer. Decent sandpaper. You can get this stuff at places like Lowe's or Home Depot or any of the bigger box stores. And they're, I want to say, about $8 for each container. I went through about half a container of 600 and a couple sheets of 2,000, which I had left over. All I have left right now is a 1,000. I'm just using it for example. I like the results, and you can keep using this stuff. You can update it or change the look if you want to. You can always lightly sand it off and go with something else or use stripper. A lot of options. So I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you want to know about it or how I did this, and let me know. And I know you can do it for cheaper, especially if you only use one color, but I like the results. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. Hope I earned a subscription, and I will see you next time. Oh yeah, all the stuff I use is not sponsored. It's just stuff I bought, and I want to let you know what I was using. See you next time. Again. Welcome to another episode of My Neighbor's Dog Barking.